Good evening, East Goshen. Hope you had a wonderful Friday so far and are ready for the weekend. It is another beautiful day here in Beloit. So you're going to join me for a walk just so I can get outside for a little while and enjoy this beautiful weather before it gets dark. We are on Luke chapter 11 today. So December 11th, Luke chapter 11. I hope you're keeping up with us, keeping up with a chapter a day. And this chapter was difficult to try to figure out which verse we were going to focus on or which couple verses we were going to focus on. Because a lot of the material here in Luke 11 ought to be familiar if you've read the Gospel of Matthew or maybe the Gospel of Mark in certain places. Most of the material here is adopted from Matthew's Gospel. So there's a lot of overlap. A lot of the verses in this chapter you'll find elsewhere, maybe not in the same order, but you'll find them in the other Gospels. So, today we're going to focus on verse 42. Jesus is talking to the Pharisees and says, "Woe to you, Pharisees, because you give God a tenth of your mint, rue, and all other kinds of garden herbs, but you neglect justice and the love of God. You should have practiced the latter without leaving the former undone." A lot of what Jesus is talking about in this chapter gets to the condition of your heart and your character. Jesus is talking to the Pharisees and he proclaims woe upon them because they wash the outside of the cup, but the inside is dirty. Inside they're full of death and decay. And throughout this chapter, Jesus gets to the heart of what matters in the gospel, and that is your posture towards God and others. I mean, notice what he says in this verse, that it's all about the things that the Pharisees have left undone. They have not loved the poor. They have not loved those who are less fortunate, their neighbors. They have not sought the love of God before the praises of people. And that's the religiosity of the Pharisees. They would rather look good in front of people than actually follow what the Lord tells them to do. Jesus stands in the tradition of the prophets here and proclaims woe upon the Pharisees because they neglect justice. They neglect to do right by those in society that have been pushed to the margins, that have been tramped down by the economy, that have been shunned because of their deformities, because of their handicaps, because of the different illnesses that they might have. They have been pushed to the outside of society. Jesus says, you have done wrong by these people. It would have been better for you to do justice than to look good, than to simply follow what you think you're supposed to do, all the rules and regulations. That's not a true heart of worship, as we find out in the book of Joel. And so what Jesus is saying here is that it matters what you are positioning yourself towards. That it matters how we posture ourselves before God and to others. One of my favorite songs by, it's not really a praise band, but it's a more of a liturgical group called The Brilliance. One of the songs that I really love is called Now and at the Hour. And in that song, the artist sings, "O merciful God, forgive us for all the things that we have done and left undone." And that's the message of Jesus to the Pharisees here. All of the things you have left undone condemn you because it is not the true heart of following God. So as we move towards Christmas, and we're trying to cut past all of the junk, like we talked about yesterday, we're trying to cut past all of the extra things that we've added on. What is at the heart of the gospel? It's to love God and love others. And maybe you find yourself reflecting through this Gospel of Luke and saying, there are a lot of things in my life that I have left undone. A lot of ways that I haven't loved people as well as I could. But we have a merciful God that gives us forgiveness for the things that we have left undone and calls us to better. So, what are the things that you have left undone? Merciful God, forgive us for the things that we have done to wrong you and others, and the things that we have left undone where we could have done better. And help us to move forward into the future, confident that the Holy Spirit guides us to loving you and loving people. So that is my prayer for us today, that we would be able to cut to the heart of the gospel, that we would take to heart all of the things Jesus is teaching us in Luke, and that we would do the things that we have left undone, that we would put behind us the past and move forward into God's plan for our future. Thanks for joining us. I will see you tomorrow for Luke chapter 12. Have a great evening.